Welcome to this explainer. Today we're actually going to turn quality control into a bit of a detective story. Usually when we think about manufacturing, we just think in terms of pass or fail, right? Did the product work or didn't it? But to truly understand the underlying health of a process, we have to pull out our magnifying glasses and hunt for individual flaws rather than just tossing out failed products. So we're going to explore the ultimate tool for this kind of investigation, the C-chart.
All right, here is our roadmap for the investigation. We've got 1. Defect versus defective unit, 2. Anatomy of a C-chart, 3. Calculating limits and 0, 4. Constant versus varying opportunity, and 5. The measurement system trap.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, defect versus defective unit.
To really set the scene of our crime, we first have to look at the fundamental difference between a defective unit and a defect. A defective unit basically gets one verdict. It passes or it fails. If you're asking, hey, how many units do we have to scrap? Well, you're counting defectives. But a defect is a single nonconformity, and one unit might carry several of them. Take a fictional medical device company, Meridian Therapeutics. They make an auto-injector. If an inspector picks up just one of those devices and finds a scuffed barrel, a misaligned label, and a stiff plunger, well, that's just one defective unit heading for the scrap bin, but it represents 3 distinct defects. A process can actually maintain a steady defective rate while its total defect count silently doubles. So, if we want to know how much is actually going wrong, we've got to count the individual defects.
Moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy of a C-chart.
Okay, so to track these raw counts of flaws, we look at the C-chart. And remember, it tracks raw counts, not proportions or rates. To build one, we first need our baseline average, which is known as C-bar. Over 20 baseline periods, Meridian Therapeutics inspected their auto-injectors and found a total of 104 defects. Divide 104 by those 20 periods and you get exactly 5.2. That is our C-bar. It means in a typical period, we expect to find 5.2 defects per 20 assembled devices. It's this one clean number that defines the center line of our entire chart and gives us a solid baseline of normal.
Next up is Section 3, Calculating Limits and 0. Once we have that baseline average, we need to draw our boundaries for what is considered normal variation. And to do this, the C-chart relies on a really brilliant piece of statistical magic. Because we're counting rare independent events, this data follows what's called the Poisson distribution. And the magic trick of the Poisson distribution is that the variance exactly equals the mean. So we don't need any complicated formulas or massive lookup tables to find our standard deviation. We just take the square root of our average. To find the upper control limit, or UCL, you simply take your average, calculate its square root, multiply that by 3, and step out on the high side. For Meridian, doing that math gives us a UCL of 12.041. So finding anywhere up to 12 defects, that's just perfectly normal noise in the system.
But let's pause for a second here. If we step 3 standard deviations up to find our upper limit, we also have to step 3 standard deviations down to find our lower control limit, right? So what happens when subtracting that results in a negative number?
Well, the math might say negative 1.6, but reality says you absolutely cannot have negative defects. Since the count of flaws literally cannot drop below 0, the lower control limit is simply reported as 0. The only time a C-chart's lower limit actually lifts off 0 is when your average count is unusually high, specifically above 9. Because Meridian's average is only 5.2, their lower limit is floored at 0. That means this chart can't actually signal a statistical improvement on the low end. It acts purely as a one-sided warning system.
Section 4, constant versus varying opportunity.
Now for a major plot twist. Our C-chart only works under one very, very strict condition. The area of opportunity, meaning the space in which these defects can occur, must remain constant, always. Think about it. A count of 8 defects means absolutely nothing until you know what those defects were found in, right? 8 defects in 10 devices is a total disaster. But 8 defects in 10,000 devices? That's a miracle. For Meridian, their area of opportunity is exactly 20 assembled devices every single period without exception. If that room changes size, our raw counts suddenly become meaningless.
So what do you do if your batch size varies because of everyday production pressures? Say you inspect 20 devices today, but you have to inspect 35 tomorrow. Well, you have to abandon the C-chart entirely. Instead, you use its sibling, the U-chart. A U-chart plots defects per unit, effectively turning raw counts into a rate. Because the sample size changes, a U-chart gives you these jagged, staircase-like control limits. A C-chart is beautiful precisely because it gives you straight limits and simple whole number counts, but you can only use it if you rigorously protect that constant area of opportunity.
And that brings us to Section 5, the climax of our story, the measurement system trap. All right, let's get back to Meridian Therapeutics. We know their baseline is 5.2 and their upper limit is 12.041. But look at what happens next. Suddenly, the detective alarm bells are ringing. Out of nowhere, starting at period 21, the defect count just abruptly jumps. We go from a nice, stable baseline average of 5.2 straight up to an average of roughly 15.5 defects over the next 6 periods. It's a massive step change.
Now, notice the data point right at period 25. During this chaotic spike, period 25 recorded exactly 12 defects. Remember our upper control limit? It's 12.041. So technically, that single point snuck just under the wire. If you were only looking at a basic limit rule, you might actually think period 25 was totally fine. But this is exactly why we use advanced run rules. 2 out of 3 consecutive points were well over the 2 sigma warning line, proving that this isn't just some fluke. The run rules catch the pattern. We have a sustained, undeniable step change in the recorded count. So, who or what is the culprit here?
Let's crack open the investigation logs for period 21. It turns out 2 things changed on the factory floor on the exact same day. First, a brand new assembly machinery fixture was installed on the line. Second, a new inspector, Inspector INS-11, took over quality control from the previous inspector, INS-07. So the defect count tripled, sure, but we have 2 completely intertwined suspects, the new machine and the new human. And the chart can't tell them apart.
This leads us to a golden rule of quality control. You absolutely must investigate the measurement system before you touch the process. A defect count is not a law of physics. It is a human judgment. A stricter inspector, someone with better training, or heck, even someone sitting under a brighter light bulb is going to find more defects in the exact same product. We know for a fact the recorded count went up. What we don't know is if the actual product got worse. If you go and tear apart a healthy machine to fix a problem that only exists in the inspector's eyes, you are just going to make the process worse.
So how do we solve the mystery without causing $1 million mistake? Easy. We test the human first. Step 1. Do a blind reinspection. Hand Inspector 11 a batch of retained devices from the old baseline periods. If Inspector 11 suddenly finds 15 defects in the old devices where Inspector 7 only found 5, boom, you've solved it. The standard moved, not the process. Step 2. Have both inspectors evaluate the exact same units and compare their calls against the written standard to see who is actually right. Step 3. Only after you have completely ruled out the humans and the measurement system do you walk over and examine that assembly fixture.
And that brings us to the ultimate lesson of the C-chart. The math itself is beautifully simple, but applying it requires real vigilance. The next time you see a spike in a chart tracking flaws, errors, or defects, I want you to look closely at the data and ask yourself, are you charting the actual process, or are you just charting the person counting? Think about how that distinction changes absolutely everything in your own data streams. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the right questions.